Recording in progress.
Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real_G Warner. Today we're going through some midweek matches as I make sure not to forget to turn off my do not disturb like a true podcaster. We're going through the English Carabao Cup, the Italian Coppa Italia. We have some Spanish La Liga matches. We have the Club World Cup as well with a debut of a Liga MX side into the Betting the Pitch podcast network. Thank you all for your support, whether you're following on Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, at the real_G Warner on all those platforms. Check out Patreon if you want my picks across all sports. And of course, we will have a best bet coming end of show, which I will get on sooner rather than later. It's probably a much quicker episode today, but we've had a really good run. We're 19-5 in our last 24 best bets. So going to try to keep that streak alive. Going to make sure also that I tweet this out so people know that I am live, and certainly want to get this done as we get closer to a kickoff in Cagliari and Juventus in the Italian Coppa Italia. So we're going to start on this episode where the money is, as always, and we'll start in England because that seems to be where the most people care. And we'll start with the Carabao Cup quarterfinals, or League Cup as it could be called. First match we'll go through is Arsenal hosting Crystal Palace. Arsenal, a 1.25 goal favorite at home, more juice in the Crystal Palace side. Totals 2 3/4, juiced very heavily to under as we speak. From an Arsenal perspective, they are really struggling in the title race right now, coming off a goalless draw at home this weekend. Not great, but certainly happens, and Everton are certainly a side that can deliver one of those type of matchups. Arsenal should be able to bounce back at home against the Crystal Palace side that really struggles on the road. Also doesn't have much of a goal-scoring prowess, to say the least. With that said, giving more than a goal in a cup match is a lot. The cup match, I guess, and how it differs from a domestic league match is that you might see, unfortunately, a little bit more difficulty with the big underdogs because they're really, I mean, the goal is if you're Crystal Palace, you go on the road, you try to win the match, of course. But the ways you do that are by defending and making it to extra time and to penalty kicks, which would be delightful for any sort of underplayer. But when Crystal Palace go behind, they're more so than any league match. They are more incentivized to go forward and try to score because this is the last they're going to play. This is not a two-legged tie. It's simply they lost the draw and are unfortunately on the road at one of the most difficult places to play in all of the English Premier League. You can even say the footballing soccer world. From an Arsenal perspective, they of course are in a bunch of competitions. They're trying to win Champions League. They're trying to win this cup. They're trying to win the FA Cup eventually. An Arsenal perspective, as I accidentally started the video of this on another channel, my bad. But the Arsenal perspective is I think a lot of different directions. They're trying to get some sort of form, trying to get some sort of momentum. So the big question is, what do they use? Who do they use? And lineups are going to be very big. Unfortunately, I have a flight right as the lineups, or right as this game's going to kick off. So I guess it's not so bad. I'll at least have an idea of when all this is happening and who's going to be playing. But expect, if you're a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/the_G Warner, you will certainly be getting an earlier slate of plays. I'll have everything queued up before I get to the airport, and then hopefully everything will go well. I also have to remember to check in for my flight soon, but hopefully this podcast will be done by then. With all that said, and without any of the prep, trying to get that all aside, I'm pretty interested in Crystal Palace getting the goal in a quarter. Also lean to under 2 3/4, though would certainly love to see a 3 as a very important push, as we certainly saw with the late goal in the Ipswich Wolverhampton Wanderers match this weekend, amongst other late goals that we've been sustaining this entire season. But I think Crystal Palace's side is also of interest. The big question for me is how can they score? I don't really know because they've been struggling to score all season. And I really want to see Eberechi Eze in this Crystal Palace starting lineup. They've been very careful with him and, of course, are still in a relegation fight. So there's a good chance coming off a rivalry match with Brighton that we might not see the best possible starting 11 for Crystal Palace, and that will certainly change some opinions. Moving next to Newcastle hosting Brentford. Newcastle 1-goal favorite at home, where they are diabolical, dynamic, everything you'd like to say. It starts with a D. A little bit more juice than Newcastle side. Total is 3, juiced all the way to over. And you, I guess, juxtapose that with Brentford coming in, and they are so bad away from home. Look like a Champions League side at home. Away from home, look like a relegation due for the championship division. And that's a big deal, even as a 1 full goal underdog on the road to Newcastle. We saw from Newcastle taking a pretty wasteful approach in the first half this weekend, then scoring 2 really quick in the second half. And Newcastle certainly can do that, especially at home in front of a tough environment. I think the Brentford side is big, but also is not really comforting enough. Newcastle's backups, I think, will still be a decent favorite against Brentford starters in that building. And there's not really a lot for me to do in this one, I don't think. I don't know that I have much to potentially put this up as an ultimate best bet coming end of show, where I'll pick my favorite from each of the leagues. So for now, I think I probably move on and resist the urge to tempt fate. Maybe this number keeps moving above 3 to 3.25. I guess that's my biggest interest is Brentford under 3 goals, because I don't think Brentford's going to contribute much offensively. The big question is, can they defend? And they've certainly had problems in that area. Last match on Wednesday, we have Southampton hosting Liverpool. Currently Southampton a 1.25 goal underdog with almost all the juice on Liverpool away from home. Total is 3.5, juice very heavily to under. Southampton are due for some sort of positive, not conceding a goal by playing out of the back every single match, but they certainly look like they're going to do that. As I wear a Mohamed Salah Egypt kit right now, I guess I probably should speak very nicely about him, especially because I just added him to my FPL team. I don't know if I chose the right time to use a wild card, but why the heck not? Had to before Christmas, I think. But anyway, Southampton a 1.25 underdog at home. So they play very well at home. They're a lot more competitive at home. They've played Southampton, have hosted Liverpool at home earlier this season, if I'm not mistaken, and had a back and forth match that saw 5 goals. I think I had under and Southampton a 1.5 goal underdog or even bigger. And so I ended up splitting. And I felt like Southampton played pretty well, but still lost. And that's, I think, going to be the story for a newly promoted side. Though, honestly, in the championship, Southampton were not conceding goals at this level. But I guess that's what happens when you go up a level and keep making big mistakes in the back end. Southampton certainly will be more focused on trying to stay in the English Premier League than by putting forth the best lineup here in the Carabao or EFL Cup. So that's another big thing. I expect Liverpool to, with so much depth that they have. I mean, maybe we see Virgil van Dijk not play, but he seems to play every single match, every minute that's offered. I lean, I think, most closely to Southampton at home because I think they're going to put forth a good effort. Lean to under 3.5, though certainly that is a scary one to say the least. Liverpool's firepower, though I still think Liverpool are more of a possession side than they were the crazy side under Jurgen Klopp. But honestly, after getting Andy Robertson sent off really early and trailing 1-0, they still were very aggressive, still controlled a lot of the game, but that was at Anfield, and this is on the road at St. Mary's. Moving to Thursday, and then I'll give a best bet from the England Football League or Carabao Cup before I move on to the other areas on this podcast. I'll start with Tottenham Hotspur, a 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice on Manchester United away from home. Total is 3.25, juice all the way to over. So Tottenham, I mean, good luck figuring out what that team's going to do. You can probably pencil them in for taking a lead. And then giving it up, or I guess if they do fall behind, there's a good chance they come back. That's not great for under because that certainly shows the topsy-turvy nature of Tottenham. But I think I'm very interested in Manchester United getting that 1/4 goal. I lean to the under 3.25 as well, just because it's just a really high total for a Manchester United match. I still believe that they are a better defense than they are offense, but certainly that's improving a little bit under new manager Ruben Amorim. Is it Ruben? I might have gotten that wrong. But anyway, I think Tottenham as a favorite is something I'm looking to be against because that high line is very scary. Certainly that doesn't tend well for an under, I must say. And that might be something that I can kind of look away from pretty quickly. I think the I guess the rub in this one is, can Tottenham somehow? I mean, it's two teams in transition. I think Tottenham. I mean, Ange Postecoglou is not changing his Ange ball. It's going to be the same way. I think there are flaws in that. So I think my biggest interest is backing the Manchester United underdog away from home. Both these teams are deep. Both certainly have big rosters and will be playing great players. For they are rotating, which I expect them to be, especially Manchester United coming off their Manchester derby against Manchester City. But I think my biggest interest in that Manchester United side. It's very juicy at the moment at BetOnline. All lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of BetOnline, Sportsbetting.ag. If you don't have an account there, go follow the links in the podcast description, Apple Podcasts, and the Spotify, or slide my DMs at the @real_G Warner across all platforms, and we'll get you some free money at either of those casinos, sister sites that use the same odds. I'll go Manchester United as my best bet on that Thursday matchup. But for my English Football League Cup or Carabao Cup best bet selection, which will come up end of show, I'll go with Crystal Palace under 2 3/4 goals on the road at Arsenal. From here, we'll move to today's match, which hopefully you're watching live, because this is probably only be relevant for a little while, but then we have a couple more matches to discuss. In Coppa Italia, we'll start with Juventus hosting Cagliari. Currently, Juventus a 1.5 favorite. Juice split. Total is 2 3/4. Juice more to the over right now. And I think one of the rare occasions we can do this is I can actually pull up what the lineups look like, as this podcast is just starting late enough to see them. So let's go ahead and do this. Hopefully this is going to go well. Match is starting in 52 minutes. Of course, we have no lineups as per usual. Love when that happens. For some reason, Google's not very quick at grabbing the lineups from Coppa or from the Serie A or Italy in general. So now we go to the Juventus. This, I guess, a little behind the music. This is how I do it. If I don't have the lineups on Google, we'll go to the team Twitter accounts. Those are usually the quickest to post. So looking at the Juventus lineup, we'll start with Di Gregorio at goalkeeper. Savona, I believe that would be a left back. Then Locatelli. Actually, this is all over the place. So we have, in terms of fullbacks, certainly Savona. Looks like in terms of center backs, we have Kalulu. And then Locatelli might be playing makeshift center back right now. McKennie playing right back. Wow. Coop Miners, Thuram, Conceição, Yildiz, Mbagula, and Vlahovic. So every attacker possible. I think that probably speaks to a lot of missing or unavailable defenders. That's probably not great for an under 2 3/4 lean, because Juventus will certainly have everything they can out there going forward. But they also are a great defense. I don't know necessarily that I'm anywhere afraid of the under 2 3/4, because it's a gigantic number, and we certainly have been seeing this number climb in this day, really. So let's see. And this is, I guess, the second half of the round of 16. So in terms of where this number has moved, so I've seen it as low as 1 1/4, juice very heavily on the calorie side. Now 1.5 juice split, and would imagine that it's going to continue to rise. Total was at 2.5 initially, juiced really heavily to over. Now it's 2 3/4 and only juiced a little bit right now. So I feel like there's probably some movement even going further here. If you're interested in the under, I would certainly wait. If you're interested in calorie, I would certainly wait. And I think I'm interested in both those areas, I must say, for this matchup on Tuesday. So for the Joe Dollar, thank you for coming in the comments. Will I be covering the women's UCL today? It's not on my list. If you want to add another sport, I barely sleep as it is, Joe. If you want me to add another sport on the list, I guess I could. But you might be really testing my my lifespan, which if you want to keep hearing my over interests, you might want to keep me live a little bit longer. So best bets on this Tuesday Coppa Italia matchup. I'll go Cagliari. I'm interested in Cagliari getting a 1.5 goals. I think I like under 2 3/4 even more. The Cagliari manager is a defensive firefighter, relegation fighter, finally in from the start of a season. And I expect this to be a bunkered in Cagliari side. So I lean under 2 3/4 in this matchup. In terms of for Wednesday, we don't have a match our line yet on BetOnline or Sportsbetting.ag for Inter and Udinese in Coppa Italia, so I guess I can't talk about it yet. But for Wednesday, we have Atalanta and Cesena. I was tempted to say Cessna, like the plane, but Atalanta clearly a big favorite at home, is also in Bergamo. 1 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Total is 3, juice all the way to over. You could see that cup ties play tight, but Atalanta have not been playing great lately. Had a close win over Cagliari this weekend. Had the disappointing loss at home to Real Madrid in the Champions League as well. I think they probably are out for blood in this matchup. They certainly can rotate, should be rotating for a lower division side, Serie B in Italy, that I haven't even heard of before. But I think my biggest interest in that one's probably under 3, but I can't say I feel that strongly about it. Moving last on the Wednesday Coppa Italia card, we have Roma hosting Sampdoria, another interleague matchup, as Sampdoria have fallen down to Serie B as well, but did knock out their city rival Genoa in their shared home stadium earlier in this competition. Roma, 1.5 favorite, all the juice on Sampdoria away from home, totals 2 3/4, juice more to the over. Roma are a fade right now. They've gone through multiple managers, got a big win in the Europa League on Thursday against Braga from Portugal, which was potentially a move in the right direction, but then didn't get much respect from the Serie A market on the road at Como, with Keira Knightley in the crowd going nuts for the Como side as they took a lead and ended up scoring a late goal. If you had under 2 1/4, my apologies, but I guess you still would have won with that late, pretty much empty net goal scored as Roma were trying to equalize past the stoppage time mark. I'm used to those, though. If anyone knows how those feel, at the @real_G1 on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube, certainly does. But Roma are now going to bounce back and try to win a Coppa Italia match. They probably will be rotating here because they're playing Europa League and really have to figure out what the heck to do to get back in the running in Serie A. I think Sampdoria are going to be going for this matchup. They're trying to get back to the big time, so there's probably a good chance this is a battle of backups. I don't love that for backing a Serie B backup side, honestly. It does put some concern in me for under there. But I think it's my biggest interest in this matchup. Besides Sampdoria getting a big price, I think I want to see what their lineup looks like, but I'll lean to under 2 3/4 as my best bet in that matchup. We'll now move to, I guess before I get away from here, we'll go favorite bet in, now $2 just commenting on actresses. You might want to also check in, Joe, if you want to hear about Anne Hathaway, is my favorite fake soccer fan. For those of you that might be listening, not watching on video, there is a special, I think one of the whatever magazines like People or something like that, where Anne Hathaway came out as a fan of a certain type of sex that I don't think is on the menu for most people in this world. So if maybe you know that, maybe you don't, but go check that out if you want some pleasure, quote unquote, pleasure reading. So for the best bet from Coppa Italia, I'll go with that Sampdoria under 2 3/4 goals. We might get to 3. I'll certainly be waiting to see that before kickoff on Wednesday. Nice. There we go. So maybe you did know. I guess I might as well show that comment too. So we'll move to La Liga in Spain. So there are some midweek matches made up from the not tropical storm. It was a flash flood or whatever you call it for Dana in España. But Villarreal, they are hosting Rayo Vallecano. Espanyol will be at Valencia. So 2 of Valencia sides that are making up matches. We'll start on Wednesday with Villarreal, a 0.5 goal favorite to Rayo Vallecano. More juice in the home team, totals 2.5, juice more to the over. Now, Rayo are a great defensive side coming off a big matchup with Real Madrid this past weekend. I think it's tough to come back off of a Real Madrid hosting. That's never a great spot to then go on the road to Villarreal, but Villarreal have been really struggling. They've been conceding a lot of goals. They're a good team and they've got a good manager, but things haven't been going great. I don't know that those sort of things will change. And Rayo, to me, are an Andoni Iraola shop. He's left the club, but one of his assistants has come in and taken over. And Rayo are going to play that same style. So forever I lean to Rayo as an underdog and to their unders because they basically sit deep and try to counterattack. That's great for protecting their defense And I think also it puts them in a better position to score against a backtracking, usually with numbers or at least even type of numbers, as Villarreal will be pushing forward to score. The issues in Villarreal, I think, are longstanding around the health of Gerard Moreno, their striker, former Spanish international player, but I don't know if he's ever healthy enough to play for them. So interested in the under and also in the road underdog. To the other match starting and kicking off at the same time, we'll start with Espanyol, a pick'em with all the juice to Valencia. Total is 2, juice more to the under. Two sides that are really struggling to stay in the league. Valencia have been a lot better, at least a bigger name, but they are really struggling to score goals. We're a road favorite on Friday at Real Valladolid, who have been losing to everyone, lost the match straight up, and were unable to score. So under and the home underdog hit. Cha-ching. But good start to the weekend on Friday there in La Liga. But I think my interest is in Valencia. If they move to a quarter goal underdog, I don't really want them at a pick 'em right now, though certainly looks like they are trending toward closing an underdog at Espanyol. I don't trust Espanyol's score goals. They've done a good job on defending their own corner kicks or opponents' corner kicks and springing counterattacks to score. To me, that's not the best way to do it, and certainly will not keep you in the league. So my biggest interest in that matchup is actually Valencia under 2 goals and nothing really to do because the quarter of a goal is not available. France, we do have a midweek match. So I'll start with that one, which is a makeup for the Trophée des Champions, I believe. It's the Super Cup equivalent, the Continental Shield, whatever we call it, the Super Coppa, Super Cup, whatever, because Monaco and PSG are going to be playing in Doha, Qatar, for a start of the season while everyone else is playing in Liga. There's a Monaco PSG match for some made-up trophy, it seems. But in that matchup, Monaco are at home to PSG. Monaco a half a goal underdog at home. Total is 3, juiced all the way to over. Monaco coming off a goalless draw on the road to Reims after a very disappointing collapse late to Arsenal in Champions League. Now they get the biggest club, best club, most highest spenders in town, and are only a half a goal underdog. I think that's a good sign for Monaco as a half a goal underdog. Total is 3, which is a scary number to play any sort of under with both of these clubs. Both Monaco and PSG are known for their goal scoring. Certainly PSG are the better, bigger club with more talent. But going on the road, I mean, Monaco is not a very scary place to play, but it is certainly not the Parc des Princes where PSG are at their best. I think we've seen PSG really struggle with some of the weaker clubs in Liga, controlling games. Not that they necessarily want to counterattack like they have under previous managers. Luis Enrique is more of a possession guy, but they do seem to come with it for the big clubs. Against Lyon this past weekend, against Marseille on the road, demolished them early in the year at the Orange Velodrome. I think at this point, PSG are a scary team to back as a big favorite, but they're not that big here. With that said, I'm not into road favorites, as anyone who listens or watches this podcast or any podcast on the Betting the Pitch podcast network. Speaking of, we have an NFL podcast coming out again tonight with A_Schnicker. But for my interest in this one, I lean to Monaco, a half of a goal underdog at home. Though I do feel PSG gets up for this matchup, and those are always scary days, fading PSG in that scenario. Last but not least, I think on this podcast, I was like, because there's no Germany stuff, that's it for France. I'll move over to the FIFA Club World Cup. Hopefully that is available. And it is. We have Real Madrid and Pachuca playing in the same, I think, stadium in Doha, Qatar, or Saudi Arabia, or something like that. Real Madrid, a 1 3/4 goal favorite. And we will check out this. So Real Madrid, 1 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Total is 3 1/4, juiced a little bit more to under after Pachuca had a goalless draw with Al Ahly, I believe, want to say, of Morocco. At least they had a lot of Moroccans on their side. I watched the penalty shootout, which was hilarious. It's amazing. Pachuca's even in this type of competition, also sitting 16th in Liga MX. Yikes. I don't know how that's going to go. Real Madrid probably name their score here, name their price. I would imagine if you want to back Pachuca, you probably get 2 goals of insurance coming sooner rather than later. I think my biggest interest in this matchup, though, is the under 3.25. Pachuca are going to do everything they can to keep Real Madrid from scoring. I think Real Madrid have had trouble scoring themselves, and I really don't see Pachuca having much of a chance of scoring on Real Madrid. Maybe look for a Pachuca under half of a goal team total. That probably will be expensive, but maybe not so much if the total is at 3.25 and the spread is only 1.75. But certainly very juiced at the moment, on its way to 2. It's almost like BetOnline Sportsbetting.ag want to get some Real Madrid money to hit, which doesn't seem like an intelligent thing to do moving forward. So that, I think, covers all that we're going to do in this midweek version of Betting the Pitch. You can find us wherever you're watching. Of course, you're on Twitter at @the_real_G_Warner, same on YouTube at @the_real_G_Warner, and Instagram for the 1 minute ultimate best bet coming end of show. That is all available on same sort of thing on Spotify. Search Betting the Pitch, also on Apple Podcasts, Betting the Pitch there as well. And like I said, _Snicker and I will be doing NFL tonight. There's at some point going to be a college football podcast coming out at Big East Bend. Of course, that's called The Need for Screens, The Need for Seeds college basketball podcast at Big East Bend will be coming out as well, both on the pregame.com podcast network. And we are moving to 2 episodes of the Need for Seeds college basketball podcast coming up very soon, as we get a little bit past the football bowl season craze, which is coming sooner rather than later. So it's time for the ultimate best bet. Before we get into it, if you could check out my Patreon, patreon.com/real_G_Warner, best spot for all my plays, leans, right across all sports. And I guess it's time to go through and find a best bet on this one. Hey, this is real_G_Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet. I pick my favorite bet from each of the leagues covered on this episode. We went through the EFL Cup, the Coppa Italia, La Liga, Ligue in France, and the FIFA Club World Cup. I smashed them all together with my favorite pick from each of those areas, and then throw out a best bet. We're 19-5 year to date. We're 9-1 last 10, and we're 14-2 last 16. So the streaks have been going. From the English Carabao Cup, I like Crystal Palace under 2.75 goals. Coppa Italia, I like Sampdoria under 2.75. In La Liga in Spain, I like Valencia under 2. In Ligue in France, I like Monaco, a half a goal underdog. And the FIFA Club World Cup, I like Pachuca under 3.25 goals. But for the ultimate best bet on this episode, I'm going to go with that Carabao Cup. Arsenal, Crystal Palace under 2.75 goals. Don't expect a lot of goals, and expect Crystal Palace to play very defensively away from home. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you on the next various myriad episodes coming out later today. Thanks for the support as always. And who is Midwest Ben's favorite soccer club? I will pass that along, and we will answer that on the next episode. I'm not going to give him a heads up, Joe. I'm just going to ask him and see if he even knows one. Hopefully he says the Colorado Rapids or the New England Revolution to really get us going with the MLS subscribers. But that's it for this episode. Thank you all. See you soon. And hope you win. Good luck winning some bets.
Recording stopped.